Good evening, everybody. My name is James Akers and I'm the cutting director for Slate Hair Education. I hope you're all doing well this evening. This is our gorgeous model, Josephine, and behind the camera we have Francesco.
Hello, everyone.
So I'm going to be doing quite an interesting haircut, I think, for you guys tonight. So this is my first section that I'm starting on, which is going to be my disconnected panel. Now I'm just bringing it down and then assessing my length. Now we've got a really gorgeous plastered up ear here, so there's about 75 earrings in there, and as opposed to me taking them all out with my comb, we've decided to put a little plaster in, which was great thinking from Josephine. So what I'm doing here is I'm just checking out how this is going to relate to the rest of my haircut. If I quickly show you the sectioning pattern that we've got going on, you put your head down for me, darling. So we've got the area of the fringe, obviously. Now we have these two kind of expanded diamond panels through this top area, and through the back, what we've got is we've got two horizontal panels through the back as well. Now what we're going to be doing is working in our line first up to here, and then working with the layering technique in this bottom zone. Okay, now what we're going to be doing after that is working with another layering technique, leaving that longer sitting over the bottom, which is going to give us a really nice disconnected textured feel. So where the hair's bleached already and expanded, what we're going to do is, rather than try and fight that too much, we're going to try and accentuate it through technique of cutting hair. So that's why I've chosen to use a layering technique generally on this haircut. Now, why have I chosen to do this? The reason being is because where the hair was quite broken already, this wouldn't have met the line that I'm going to work in the back. So rather than it just looking weak, I've decided to turn it into a little bit of a bit of an accentuation, something that's going to stand out a little bit, which I think would be really cool. Bit of a feature, that's the word I was looking for, a feature.
James, do you have any preference when to start? Like starting your haircut from the side or from the back?
I think it depends what I'm doing. When I'm working with disconnection, I tend to always work the panel that is shortest first. That way it's not going to get in my way. Do you see what I mean? If I was cutting, let's say I cut this first and then cut this, I need to be careful not to cut the longer hair that I've already cut. Whereas working on the shorter panel first means that I know, because I'm going to be below that most of the time, I'm not going to be touching it. The other reason where I would start first is tend to be, where do I want to build weight? That's the big question. So if I want to build weight, where will I start? Has anyone tuned in? Have we got any viewers yet? Let us know. If you are, then let us know where you're tuning in from, and if you have any questions. But what I would look at doing is, if I want to build weight towards the back, then I would tend to start at the front. Why? Because it's easier for me to use over direction to build that weight towards the back. If I want to build weight towards the front, then I'll tend to start at the back for the same reason. Because with my over direction, it's much clearer for me to pull it backwards. I'm pulling it towards my body. So I hope that answers your question, Francesco.
Yeah, pre-extended, thanks. We got Melody tuning in from Wyoming.
Hello. How are we? Guys, any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The more the merrier. We are happy to answer any questions that you have for us. What we're going to be looking at here on Josephine's hair, which is quite cool, is really having a combination of something strong with something soft. For me, whenever there's something really strong in hair, there has to be some softness to balance it out. And vice versa. If it's something super soft, then there has to be an element of strength. So maybe, for example, look at things like Debbie Harry when she has this, amazing, cool, big textured hair, but then she has a really nice, strong fringe, which just balances it, and balances the look. So I'm working through my fingers, but with a very low elevation, working onto the skin to create that nice, heavy line through that front area. If I want to reduce the weight in it later, I can, but I think actually this is going to work really nicely into that line. Now Josephine is an incredible colourist and she's managed to do this all by herself, so I have to say hats off to her, great job. I think, you know, when working with a haircut, we always have to be mindful of what we're doing with the colour. Now this is an important part actually here. So little things, really little things can make a big difference to what we're doing, okay? So from here, if I'm coming through and my fingers are down here and I'm going to cut my line, what am I doing here? I'm bending the hair, so I'm making that top hair shorter than the underneath, and what I'm actually going to be doing is encouraging that hair to kick out slightly more, using the graduation. Now shorter hair on the top, pushing the longer hair, it's going to encourage it to bevel out this way. If we want that, then great, but if we don't, we want something to sit nice and clean and strong with my fingers. What I'm going to do is work down, under. The blades of my scissors are not turned out, they're turned under, and I'm going to work through like so. This way, for me, I find I get a better finish. So it's always being mindful, not just of where you are, where you're combing the hair, the length, but just the little isms that you're doing. So the little, am I twisting, am I not, am I got the right angle, am I over-directing at all? So we can see now that I think this is going to be a really nice little length in Josephine. I'm just going to have a little look in the mirror. Yeah, that's going to be really cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start working into my line through the back here. Now, when doing this, I know that I'm going to be layering this line. So I want to get my wet shape in. I want my shape to be, I want to get it in quite quick, you know, I don't want to mess about with my wet shape, and I'm going to be doing a lot of refining later on. Now with the head position, I want the head nice and chin straight. The reason being, as soon as I put the head down, if I cut my line square and I lift the head up, it's going to come round. Now, how many of us have been through that time where we've focused so much on getting this perfectly square, and then we come around to the front and we go perfectly square? But what happens at the end, we end up with this line like this, and you're kicking yourself, you're so angry, because you've just not looked at the angle of the head. For me, I think it's much better to keep that head in a nice straight position, okay? Then at the end, if we need to, we take off the graduation. Much nicer, and we have the shape that we want. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to cut this line nice and flat and square at the back, I'm going to keep my body position at the back. I bend my knees. I look at my desired length. I'm in the comb. Now, I'm not pushing the hair against the skin. I'm not using loads of tension. I'm keeping my comb flat, like my sections. And I'm going to go maybe a little bit longer than I want it at first. I'm just going to rest the hair against the skin in my fingers and start to cut the line. Okay? Keeping my body back. Now, if I come round the body here, I'm more likely to round off this corner. If I keep my body back, look, I'm more naturally going to keep it square. So my comb goes in again, my finger rests against the skin, I'm not putting loads of tension on, and I follow my line. I'm just going to repeat exactly the same process on the other side.
We've got lots of people tuning in from Banbury, Greece and Mississippi.
Oh wow, hey everybody, cool. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Guys, if you're liking what you're seeing as well, please don't hesitate to ask any questions and like and share the video. If we could really get this video pumping, get our education out, we're doing these videos once a month, and it's our objective to share as much as we can with the time that we're given, you know? So if you could do that for us, we'd really be grateful. So I'm just going to come and refine what I've done in my first section. Okay, now, I know I'm going to be layering this, but what I'm going to do is I am going to work that whole technique first. That way I'm going to have a little bit more of a clear vision of where I want to start my layering from. So I'm just going to come through in parallel sections. My sections always parallel to my cutting line as well. So I want my cutting line to be square, my sections will be square. Coming through. And Josephine's got really gorgeous hair. When did you say you last had it cut? A year ago?
Yeah.
So I'm feeling very privileged. First one in a year to cut her hair. So same again look, with the comb, yeah? I'm in and I'm just pushing against the skin, okay? I'm not putting loads of tension on it. If I put loads of tension on it, I'm more likely going to get graduation. But just by placing it onto the skin, then I know I'm closer to the skin, I have more control. Because the hair's reasonably fine, and it has a bit of movement in it, cutting through the comb, I think is going to, I'm not going to get the control that I want. So keeping the hair nice and wet, and working onto the skin, is going to be better for me. I hope that makes sense, guys. If you have any questions, please do ask. My body position stays square. For me, that's one of the most important things when you're cutting this square line. That was when I really managed to turn a new leaf, was when my body position, when I started to really think about that body position when cutting this shape, because I always found that I rounded it. So after that second section, I'm just going to have a quick check on my balance. And when checking my balance, I'm just looking at my nails. So I'm not just checking the outside, I'm checking all the way from the out into the middle, looking at the thumbnail at the bottom to check that I'm balanced. Okay, now my final section in this area, in this zone, in the line, will come down now and connect.
It might be a silly question, James, but...
No question's a silly question, Mr. Francesco. Tell me.
So, why, if the head position is going down, when you cut a straight line and when she goes up again, the line becomes round instead of keep a square
So
shape?
there's different reasons in the front to the back. In this part of the neck, just if I just use you as a little demo, look how much more this area moves than through here, for example. Yeah, quite a lot. Does that make sense? So if I'm cutting this down here and then sitting this up, that stays there, but that, look, from here, that's square. When that comes up, can you see what happens? This comes back more. And this stays forward. So that's one reason. Now the other reason is, let's look from a profile, okay? So put your chin down for me. Now we're focused, thinking that we're square here, yeah? As soon as we lift the head up, see what happens?
Becomes
Round.
round.
Okay, so partially, you know, it's a visual thing. It's a visual thing, because even though the head's down, we think maybe we're like that, we're going to be square. It's just so much easier. If the head is square, then we know that what we're cutting. We know that what we're seeing is what we're cutting. As hairdressers, we're very visual people. So for us just to have something there, for me, it's much clearer, it's much more simple, you know. And also, I think what I've found is, you know, with using the right tension and cutting with no over direction and no elevation in my line, then I actually find I don't get much graduation in my lines anyway.
Cool. Thanks for the explanation.
No problemo. So I just want to say a quick hello to everyone and thanks for joining in. I'm just going to finish this section off and then I'm going to do a really quick recap of where we are so far. Really nice hair. Whenever I'm cutting hair, I always like to move it around, see how it's sitting, see what the hair's telling me. You know, if something's really kicking out in the wrong way, then maybe something's not quite right with the cut. You know, maybe I've done something wrong, so I let that tell me more than feeling it too much. So this is all sitting pretty nice. Now, again, because of the texture of the hair that we have already, where the hair's quite broken and quite damaged from the bleach and quite swollen, if I just cut this all back into a line, and where these areas were shorter anyway and more frayed in the ends, it's going to look very back heavy. So this is how I've chosen my technique to layer it much more through the back. So far as I've just separated this panel in the front, and I've worked through my fingers onto the skin, a slightly triangular shaped line, okay, just for something a bit of definition, to give some strength to this. Okay, we've then worked in horizontal sections through the back, okay, and just worked in through the comb into our finger and just worked a nice square cutting line through the line. Now what we're going to do is we're going to layer this area, okay? So I'm just going to put your head right down for me, darling. That's beautiful. And look, now when I put the head down, actually, Francesca, this will be quite a good way for you to see. Can you see now that what we've got is we've hardly got any graduation at all? Yeah, we haven't really got anything to take off at the end. So we'll see, but we're layering it through here.
Okay.
Okay, so from here, I then decide how much hair I want to keep in my length and how much I want to remove. Now, when I'm doing the connection, what I do find is that I want to really start in the bottom, because with disconnection for me, if it's in tiers, I always want something longer to be sitting over the shorter, if that makes sense. So I look at where I'm at, take my guide from the bottom. I'm sure you can hear the police there, we are in London, this is very regular.
I'm really excited because the next live video we're going to do it on our new space, right?
Yes, exactly. So our new academy is almost there. We're getting live updates every day from Gregory, our global director. He is he's sending us through pictures of how it's looking. It's looking amazing. And we're thinking in the next couple of weeks, right, that should be up and running. So very, very excited for that. So you guys will have to tune in and we can show you the new space. What's going to be fun today is, as well, is we've got another haircut that we're going to show you that we've been working on today. So I've got another model sitting around the corner, City, who's going to come through in about 10 minutes or so, and I'm going to show you a new, not new, but a different haircut to this. So we have something like a presentation, which will be quite cool. I thought it might be quite nice for you guys to see something with a bit more texture, because when I say texture, I mean a different texture of hair. So we have quite straight hair here, and we've been working on something with a real strong curl in it. So something a bit more with expanded shape, which is going to be really cool, which I'm really excited for you guys to see. I'm just going to keep your head right down for me, darling. It's perfect.
It's actually an amazing shape you create, James.
Thank you so much.
I was really happy to see it. I was amazed.
So what I'm doing now is I'm over-directing everything back to that center section, yeah? I'm working vertically so I can see my technique better. My technique is my up and down. Okay, working vertically means I can see what's happening better. All right. What's more difficult now is for me to see my shape, my side to side. Okay, but by bringing everything back to one section, that should really help me keep control of my balance. So I'm going to carry on working through this, keeping my combing nice and clean. What I find quite hard in these situations is getting that combing really consistent all the way through. And I think for me, the thing is discipline. You've got to keep yourself disciplined when doing it, making sure that everything is combed really nicely as you're cutting, working a similar amount of sections on both sides, these little things. These are the tricks which are going to help you, really elevate your hairdressing. Guys, if anyone's got any questions, please do ask us. Or any questions about this haircut or any other haircut or anything, please let us know where you're tuning in from. That would be awesome. Okay, cool.
So, James' Instagram is JMakers.
James Akers Hair.
James Akers Hair, Sarah. Hope I answer your question.
So it's James, Akers Hair. So I'm just going to spin around now and show you from this angle. And just wet this down. Now, why do we wet hair down when we're cutting? For control. I find I have much more control in cutting hair when the hair's wetter. So I'm going to get the comb in. Again, combing it back onto my first section. Finding that guide and only working up to that knuckle. Okay, that way I'm going to keep a cleaner balance. If as soon as I work beyond that, for me, I start to lose tension. I've got terrible fingers, I've got lumps and bumps all over them. So I have to be very disciplined in where I work and how I work. my techniques.
Cool. So what are you doing now? You just create your guideline from the center and then you are over
So I
directing.
created my guideline originally in the center, and then I worked from one side, layering everything back to the middle. I'm doing the same now on this side. Now why am I doing that? Because look here, as the hairline works around, we have less hair here. So if I follow this all the way around, then this is going to jump up. I'm not going to keep my length in the outline. So that's why I want to build that weight towards the outline. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfecto. So coming in again from the root, then from the root I come all the way onto my original section. On my guide. And carry on in this fashion. So what we're doing is we're really creating like a tiered effect of different layers, which is going to be really interesting and a really nice way to create texture with using precision cutting. Because what I think a lot of people think is when you talk about precision cutting, they just think about boom, boom, line, line, strong. Do you know what I mean? That you don't really think about those softer shapes. Whereas actually you can create really incredible softness with using precision cutting. And I think that's the kind of word we want to get across. It's not, precision cutting doesn't mean necessarily precision strong haircuts. It means precision and technique, which then you can create anything once you have that. So I'm just working on to my last section now. Back to the center. And we're there. And now look at the difference what we have. We have the line still, so we have our foundation, okay? But as we move it, we start to get, the hair allows to move more. And that's what we wanted. Now, if I followed, obviously, this layer to here, we can see, we're going to be going very short into that crown and to the top. So now what we're doing is we're going to take this next panel and leave it slightly longer. And that's what's creating our disconnection. Okay? So.
Okay, I've got a question from Deborah.
Yes, please, Deborah. Hello. Thank you for the question.
Hello. She's asking, how do you not cut your guideline?
How do I not cut my guideline? That's a really good question, actually. What I find is if I comb out the hair nice and quickly, but then when I come up to my guideline, in fact, let me do an example. For you. When I come up to my guideline, what I tend to do is I slow it right down, okay? And then by resting the scissors on this finger, then I feel like I have really good control of where I'm cutting. But let me show you what I mean. So I think that's a really good question. Because guys, if we're cutting our guidelines, then that's when we're really making mistakes, So it's really important actually, this question. Thank you very much. Now, so I'm just going to lower this chair a little bit because I'm not that tall. So this is my guideline, yeah? I'm starting in the centre again. Again, why am I starting in the centre? Because like we said about where we want to build length, I want to build length towards the front, so I'm starting at the back. Now, what I want to do here, as we can see, if I pull this up, this underneath, we're completely disconnecting, yeah? Now from here I choose what length I want. So maybe I'll leave it a little bit longer than what I think at first, yeah? Deborah, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about your question. I will be coming to that in a second. And then we have a look. Where's that sitting? Now, I think we could go a little bit tighter than this in that, my length, so. But it's always better for me, I think, to leave things a little bit longer. You can always work things down shorter. Working up to that knuckle. Trying to keep the fingers or the area that you're cutting nice and flat, so they're not bending.
Got another question from Therese. She would like to know, which product are you spraying?
So this actually is the Joico leave-in detangler. I just like to use something with a little bit of moisture when I'm cutting. It helps me control it as long as water. I really like the Davines Day spray as well. I use that quite a lot. Okay, now let's answer this question. So what I've done is I've relieved myself of half of the guideline and I'm bringing in my new section, okay? Now, when I comb this out, I'm coming back to the previous. Come really close here, Francesco, for me. Let me show you. So, first of all, my guideline has to be very clear. I hope you can all see how clear that is, but really clear, okay? Now, if I comb to here and start to hover and cut, I'm going to find it very difficult not to cut anything off my guideline. So what I do is I come through, with my fingers nice and straight, work to where that point is, where I know that if I rest on my fingers, I'm going to cut right onto it. So I think for me it's probably about the scissor control and your combing. If you can control your combing and you can control the scissors, then that's probably the key to keeping a nice clean guideline and keeping it nice and strong. Same again. And notice where I'm cutting. The areas that I'm cutting are always when my fingers are straight, yeah? Not bent like this. Now we can see, look what we're creating now. It's always important to look at what we're doing. So we have this cool layer on top. We've flattened out that underneath, which is going to really help. Now these areas that are sitting over our length, don't worry about that. That's something that we can refine later, okay? No problem. Okay, so I think in a second our model is going to come through City and we are going to quickly have a look at her hair and talk through it. Come through, darling. So I'm just going to come through this last two sections here so I get to this corner. Again, combing it back onto my first section. That way I know that I can keep a nice balance for both sides. Being very careful that I'm not ripping out anyone's earrings again. Now, when I comb this, if you come around here a minute, Francesca, you might be able to see really nicely. Look how I put my comb in all the way to that first section, then pull it from there. That way I know that I'm going to put it to the same point every time. Does that make sense? Okay. Cool. So, before we move on, let's talk about our other beautiful model. So, this is City. Incredible, gorgeous model. And let's have a little look at her hair. Now, what we did here, I mean, it was really exciting. This hair's so malleable and so kind of mouldable that we could really have styled this in 1,000 different ways. And we're going to get some really cool pictures to share with you guys with different ways of styling it. But let me tell you about the idea that we had. Is we wanted to keep something. Now, when City came in, we had this length, but we had a real bulky weight and a load of weight in the back. So we knew that we wanted to reduce that, but we wanted to keep some softness through here. And through looking at the front, this was all very heavy and through here. So I wanted to create an illusion of, well, not an illusion, but I wanted people to see that we had this point of excess length through here. So if we can really start to pull that out, we'll really start to see it. Now, what we did to create that was worked in this top area, worked flat from here, which is creating again this point, and then we came in through two panels for either side and worked a nice flat cutting line below our sections and built everything up until we run out of hair. Then all of a sudden we have this really gorgeous expanded shape for the top. Now we actually started this haircut in the back, removing this area and left 2 panels of disconnection and worked through in a more of a round, graduated kind of style of cutting, okay? So working vertical diagonal sections in past the middle and same on either side, balancing, all right? And this was our first section that we had. Now, why did we start at the back? Because this is where I wanted to remove the most weight. This was the most important part to me, so I wanted to get this in, and then that was going to be the voice for the rest of my haircut. All right, we then came through, and in these side panels, I just came and connected a really slim area, very slim section from the back into the front. That stopped this being too bulky and helped push this weight down, okay? Now after we did that, that's when we worked through this top area. So what we actually did with this is we did it on Instagram TV. So we're gonna put this on our Instagram TV for you all to see, because we haven't posted much on that yet, so we're really gonna start building that for you. So we're gonna show you some of the way that we cut this, and we're going to show you also some different ways that we're going to style it as well. Okay, so if you want to stay there for a minute, have a little twirl, that'd be wicked, and then we'll get back to this haircut.
Such a nice shape, James.
Thanks guys, let us know what you think of it, everybody. It'd be really great to hear your thoughts.
And I think cool models, that makes the haircut cool.
Of course, yeah. I mean, look at it, it's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. All right. Perfect.
Cool. Thank you so much, Cecilia. Alright, so back to Josephine. Double model day today. So again, I'm actually going to carry on now, and I'm going to change my over direction slightly. So from here I'm going to choose a point halfway down to my section and start over directing back to there now. Guys, if you have any questions about this haircut or that haircut or anything, please don't hesitate to ask, just let us know. Okay? Now what we're doing here again is we're creating softness internally and leaving length externally. Okay? Now the length we can play around with later. That's not my main focal point at the moment. My focal point is flattening out this internal shape. Now, using a layering technique, we know we're going to be removing weight from the internal shape, okay? The more we lift it, the more we leave, the more we remove from the internal, the more we leave in the external. The lower we are with our fingers, the more we remove from the external, the more we leave in the internal. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Have we got anyone tuned in that's been on any of our courses before? Let us know. Or if anyone, like I said, has any questions, please let us know where you're from as well. It's always really great to hear where you guys are tuning in from.
Right, we got James from Houston.
Hello, Houston?
Houston, yeah.
Houston, London? Or Houston, America? How are you spelling
So
it?
let us know. Houston. Houston.
Okay, so America.
Yeah,
It's your Italian accent. Houston.
sorry.
No, that's good. I was going to say, Houston's only down the road from us.
I've got a question from Paul Livios. Hopefully I say it well. He's asking, are you directing all the section from this side? All on the back?
So what I've done in my own direction, first of all, thank you very much for the question. So what I've done is started from the centre, okay, and I've over-directed everything to the corner of this section back to the centre. I've then taken my section from halfway across this panel and over-directed everything back to that point. Okay, the reason being is because I wanted to layer this slightly more through the front, so I didn't want to put it back quite as much. Now I hope that makes sense. Please let me know if that answers your question, and if not, we'll do our best to make it happen.
Oh, that's amazing. We got people from Pennsylvania, Florida, Tennessee. Incredible.
Amazing. Welcome guys, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Canada.
I'm going to finish this side and then I'm going to do a quick recap for those of you that have just tuned in. Okay, so I'm going to spin you back around, Josephina, the other way. You can find the thing. Ah, there we go. And I'm going to work through this side. So again, working with a balance on both sides. So my section is starting at the same point, and I'm pulling all that hair back to that point. So that's why it's really good to use things like, okay, so when I'm over directing back here, I say halfway through here, so I'm going to do halfway through here. That way I'm going to have a balance. So, I comb back into my fingers, find my guideline, and connecting. I find spending that little extra time to comb it out twice makes a huge difference to how much time you're going to have to spend in the end. It really helps because you won't have to refine so much because you know you're getting that really nice clean cutting line. Has anyone got any questions about the haircut? What do people tend to prefer to do as a technique? Do they prefer to do when they do bobs? Do they like doing layering? Do they like doing disconnection? Do they like using graduation in their bobs? Let us know, it'd be interesting to hear what everyone likes to do.
We have a question from Gang Mei. Hopefully I said it well too. From India. He said, could I know about the haircut name?
Yeah, of course. I mean, what's difficult when you're using disconnection is you're using a lot of different techniques, and we're using a lot of different, lots of different shapes as well, I think. So really, there isn't a name for this haircut, as it's a combination of lots of classic haircuts. So we're using a line, we're using layering. Now, the way that we talk and the tools that we use as Slate Education is we work with 3 techniques and we work with 3 shapes. Now our techniques being line, layer and graduation, and our shapes being round, square and triangular. Now what I'm doing here is something that we'd be looking at doing in more of our creative courses than our geometric courses. But I've done a couple of classic haircuts, I've done a couple of creative, so I wanted to really mix it up for you guys. So what I've done so far is I've combined different things. So I've used a line and I've used a line, one being triangular, one being square. I'm now using a triangular layering technique. Layering and triangular because I'm getting longer towards the front. So it's really a combination of techniques. Now, what we've called it in the name, a layered textured bob, is because that's what we're looking to, that's the vision that we have. We have the vision of doing something textured, something with layering through it. Now, first of all, what I do, before I decide my technique, I decide what I want to see. And for everyone that I teach as well, when I'm working on models and clients, I find it really important is people are obsessed with being like, oh, okay, I'm going to do a line or I'm going to do this. What I want to first look at is, okay guys, what do we want to see, all right? What do we want this hair to do? Do we want it to be heavy? Do we want it to be flat? Do we want it to be wild and big? Do we want it to be nice and sleek? You know, what shape do we want to see? And then when we have a vision of what we want to see, then that's when we can start looking at executing the technique behind it. Now, for me, that's one of the most important things, is getting a vision of what you want to see before you actually decide on the technique. Now, I hope that answers your question, and let me know if it doesn't, okay?
We got Tiffany saying she assumes that you finish the haircut once it's going to be dry, so you refine it once it's going to be dry.
I will be refining once it's dry, correct, yes. I think it's really important, you know, that working with these kind of techniques and shapes is to see what it does when it's dry as well. For me, when the hair's wet, I try and get my whole technique and my shape to be as clean as possible, okay, whilst working wet. Then once it's dry, then I really start to perfect it. I mean, I don't just rush through my wet shape. If I can get it there when it's wet, then I'll get it there. But obviously hair is going to change when it's dry, and I'm really excited to see how this is all going to react when we dry it. But yeah, as a whole, I would say I always refine on dry hair, but getting it nice and clean, as clean as possible when it's wet.
Cool.
Let me know if that answers your question, and if not, we can go through it. Okay, so this is my last section now through here. What I will tend to do when the hair's dry is use a pointing technique. Now, when working with disconnection, I find that can really help. Sorry, you've got your plaster there. I find that really helps blending all the disconnection together as using something pointing. But when the hair's wet, I find it very difficult to see how much hair I'm taking out. So we dry the hair and then we can really see what we're taking. Now, I'm going to do a really quick recap for you guys now, okay? So, what we've done is we've started off through this front area and just worked in a little line. Now we've done that to accentuate this area because it was quite weak. Okay, so what we want to do is create some strength, create something that we can see visually. Now we started working a little square line in through the back. Okay, now from here we had a panel underneath and we worked a square line into the back. We then layered that back out, creating this really cool little texture. Okay, working in the fingers, over directing everything back to the middle. Our next section, we've done the same thing but left it longer. So if I pull this out, you'll be able to see very clearly how much disconnection we have through there. You can see the lengths and the length. Quite a dramatic disconnection. Okay, now what that's going to do is we're going to have shorter internally, again, pushing into longer externally, sitting over that previous disconnection. So really flattening out that back and creating a really cool movement in texture. Now, what I'm going to do quickly, just for my own visual purpose, is just quickly whack in this line, following my underneath, and just so I get an idea of length and everything, okay? So I'm going to tell you about my idea for this top bit in a second.
We got a really interesting question from Debbie.
Please, Debbie.
So, Debbie's asking, how do you handle the client who doesn't keep her head still?
Very good. Okay, so this is a tricky one, isn't it? Because we're all very scared about, telling clients and blah, blah, blah. For me, the first thing I'll do is if they keep moving their head when they're talking, is I'll hold it there for about 10 seconds. And then hopefully they stay. Then they understand that and they know I want them to. So if I keep having to go like this, then I'll just go like this and I'll hold it there for 10 seconds. And then sometimes that works. Okay? Otherwise, you just have to be like, look, what I'm trying to do here requires your head to be in this position. If it's not, then it's going to change. It's going to change what I'm doing. The really good one is if you're trying to do something triangular, like a triangular line or triangle graduation, and the client really says, I really want that longer at the front, just say to them, as soon as you put your head down, that's when it comes round at the front. So if you put your chin up a little bit or straight, then it will go like this. And I guarantee you they will sit there like this because they're so desperate for this and they always get that, okay? I guarantee it. So, you just have to be honest. I use humour sometimes. I just have a laugh. I'm like, Christ, how can you not keep your head still when you're a doctor? How can you not understand? But everyone has their little ways. But for me, just if you're with your client, it's your client, you normally have that really great rapport with them. So the fact that you can't tell them, can you just keep your bloody head still for 2 minutes? I'm sure they will, I'm sure they'll understand.
It's really cool when you do the next haircut, when they start to learn how to stay. They stay still, They don't move. It's amazing. It's literally so nice.
What do you do, Francesco, for your clients? Do you have any tips?
I just tend to explain them that the beauty of the haircut is up to them. If they want to move or they want to put the chin down or up, it's up to them, the result. So just leave everything to them. Let them understand the importance of it.
So that's quite to the point, isn't it? Good, why not? So, guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use the wide tooth of the comb, combing everything into natural form and just connecting into the line that I have in the underneath, okay? You can see my guide. Connect, okay? And then... See, look, she's got her head up now.
Amazing. Oh, we got Gemma saying, looking fab.
Thank you, Gemma. Yeah, it's gonna be like most of my haircuts, I think. It's gonna be one of those that kind of really comes to life, you know, when we dry it and everything comes together with the fringe and everything. It's gonna be really cool. When we take the plasters off as well.
We're gonna reveal what's behind the plastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna be nice for Josephine as well. She'll know she's safe. So I'm looking at my angle. I'm not using tension over the ear, okay? So with that, I comb over, and then I comb from under the ear. That means I haven't got to start tapping it or anything. I'm just looking how it's going to fall naturally. Working my line. Okay? I'm just going to repeat exactly the same thing on the other side. Obviously we have a little bit more hair on this side, because we haven't done the disconnecting panel. So I'll spin you round for this time. Voila! Okay, so again, the same thing. Yes, look how good you are now. Chin that, perfect, thank you.
Which scissors are you using now, James?
So these are my pair of Nicks, which I mentioned last time actually. My friend John Phillips, who owns the great salons at Open Hairdressing, he gave them to me just before I went to Australia, and said I've got to give them back to him one day. So we're waiting for that day, but I'm sure we will. It's quite a funny story actually, because I'll tell you, it was one of our friends as well. John just gave them to me, and I was showing our other friend Harry, who's a really good friend of mine, an amazing hairdresser as well, showing him these new scissors that John had gave me, and we were sitting in the pub, and Harry goes, "Oh yeah, look," and he pulled them out of the bag, and they flew across the pub.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, as all hairdressers know, that's not what you want to be doing with the scissors. But luckily, they were okay.
Nothing happened.
No, we were safe. Very lucky for Harry there. Okay guys, so normally my body would be completely parallel, but just because I want you guys to be able to see, I'm standing slightly to the side.
So James, might be another stupid question, but why you tend to not use any tension around the ears?
Well, first of all, it depends on the texture of the hair. Yeah, so because this hair is very bleached and it's going to be stretchy, if I start using a lot of tension, really start pulling the hair, it's not going to be in its true form, you know, it's not going to dry like that. Because I'm working in natural form for me, when I work through the wider tooth, you know, I just feel like that's where it's naturally going to sit more when I dry it. Now with the ears, obviously, if I comb with loads of tension over that ear, we can see that it's going to affect our line. Okay, so if I comb from above the ear and then below, not anymore. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good, fabulous. Right guys, so that's my sort of underneath done. That's my second zone. Alright, and now we're going to move in to our third and fourth area. Alright? Now, I had a little idea for this when I was just playing around with Josephine's hair. And what I thought would be quite cool would be to have something kind of sitting a little bit longer and sitting a bit crazy out here as we dried it. Now obviously it could sit flat, but the way I want to style it. So I want to accentuate that with this haircut. So I want to make the hair move that way. Now as you can see in my sectioning, what I've done is, if we come through here, is I've come and I've left a point through either side at this bottom. Now what that means is if I elevate everything up, then I'm going to have something sitting longer through these corners. I hope that makes sense. Now, sectioning can really be a game changer, you know. If I have this same section, but left this much lower, okay, then I'm going to have much more hair sitting over this. So really, our sectioning can really, you know, help us be a great tool to create what we want to create. Now, what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to check this length to see how much length we do have. Okay, perfect. We've got loads. Right, on the underneath. So I know now that that is not going to reach, yeah? That's our disconnection now. So this is going to be our third tier of disconnection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start around the middle, here where the head's the widest, okay? I'm going to get rid of the hair that we're not working on, just to be safe. I'm going to start on this side. And what we're going to do is we're going to work from, again, shorter into longer. So I'm just going to work this way. So. Ooh.
Oh, whoa. That was a twist.
It's going to be slightly easier for me. I'm just going to decide my length where I want things to sit. Working shorter to longer, yeah? So shorter internally to longer externally. What that's going to do is it's going to push the shorter hair, it's going to push this weight out. So when we style it, hopefully what that's going to get is we're going to get really accentuated hair sitting out from that underneath. And again, that's going to be something that we can keep or we can remove, yeah? Okay, now, standing on this side, I'm going to just over direct, just back to the previous, just to start to build a little bit of length in that back area. Guys, if you have any questions, please do ask. I know there's a lot of things going on in this haircut, but actually what you'll find is when we dry it, it should all actually be quite flawless and fall quite nicely together. So we're using a lot of different, well, a lot of technique, but to create something that hopefully to the eye is quite simple and quite beautiful. I want people to start to move away from thinking that everything, everything to do with precision is always about strong lines and hard lines, because it really isn't. We use precision to create beauty.
I think it's all about knowledge and vision, right, James?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the more you know, the better, right? No one says, oh, I don't want to know anything, or I don't want to know anymore. Just the thing is, to know things, you have to learn them. And it's whether you're disciplined and if you want to learn them enough. The day that I stop learning is the day I stop being a hairdresser, I think. Hairdressing for me is one of the most amazing things about it, is that you can never be good enough. You can always be better, you can always strive to be better. There's always improvements that can be made. Whether it's just from a taste perspective or a technical perspective, or even trying out, moving into different areas of hairdressing, so moving into styling or colour or whatever.
That's something that I'm trying to see. I mean, I see you cutting all the time, and see you're really technical and precise on what your mapping is on sectioning, and that what I would like to try to reach. So that's why I keep trying and training myself at least every week to try to understand really deeply and technically all the shapes.
It's funny, when I started cutting hair, I wasn't very technical at all. I was someone that could feel hair and I could see things, and I used to be able to create, a decent haircut, but I had no idea how I did it or why I did it. I was just looking and I could see, and then I could feel it, and I was like, that's not quite right, so I'll change it, and I'll change it until it worked, and it took me forever, but I got there. But actually, ever since I learned to be technical, I get to those places much quicker, and my eye changes. I start to see things more, and I start to be able to create more. But the opportunities become endless. I don't say, oh, I'm going to have to do this haircut because I'm not sure how to do that, or I'm going to have to do this haircut because that's all I can think of. Now, you can do anything. which is so fun, so cool.
Absolutely. We got a question from Christina.
Hello, Christina.
Hello, Christina. So, what face features would you like to enhance with this haircut? Or how her natural hair texture will influence the haircut?
So for me, to be honest, the texture of the hair has influenced this haircut much more than the face. Okay? The head has influenced it in the way that the head is, but the actual face hasn't a lot. The reason being is because Josephine, I mean, it's very flawless. You know, I couldn't make her face any better. All right, she's very symmetrical. She's absolutely beautiful. I think adding this little bit of strength in here is going to be really cool. You're going to see what we're going to do with the fringe. We're going to lift that up a little bit. I mean, it's going to be a real challenge, this fringe, because you've got a real jump or a cow's lick, or whatever you want to call it, through that front area. So it's going to be fun. We're going to see. But I think, you know, opening up this face, anything that opens up this face is going to be gorgeous. You know, the one thing I wouldn't want to do is hide the face. That's the main thing for me. As far as the hair texture goes, that's what made me want to create this crazy kind of textured shape. Okay, like with the bleach having swelled the hair, that's what gives it that kind of nasty, kind of, you know, like, I say nasty, but it's not actually really like it. It's that kind of cotton woolly kind of hair, you know. And I actually really like that, and I really like playing around with bleached hair. And I think because it creates actually really cool expanded shapes. So we're gonna, from that where I decided to go for something more layered. I feel like if I go for something with graduation in that bleached hair, possibly, not always, but possibly it might look quite heavy and quite liney. Yeah, so for me, this is going to be a nicer option. The other thing is, which is obviously very important, which we forget to think about sometimes, is the model that we're working on. Yeah. So Josephine, actually, she wanted something very loose. She showed me a picture, yeah, and then we came to an agreement together. So that's really important. It's not only about the face and about the, you know, the bone structure. It's about the person that you're working on and her personality. So I'm just going to pull this up just to create a little guide for my second section to know that I'm balanced. Just a little bit from here, okay? And we can let that go.
Got another question from Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for your question.
So, Sarah asking, are these pie sections?
Are these what, sorry?
Pie sections?
Pie sections. I think what you mean, yeah. So if you mean like, am I pivoting like this, then no. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by pie sections, let me know. But if you mean like segments, like an orange segments or something, like a pie, yeah, then no, it's not. What we're doing is if we have a look, we had this shape that came from here, both sides, and what I'm doing is I'm just working on a diagonal and bringing everything back to the center on both sides. So if you see from here, and I'm bringing back to the center. So my sections are parallel to my first. Let me know if that makes sense for you, Sarah, if that's the question that you meant. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on, again working to the front until we're out of hair, not affecting our first section, over-directing everything back.
I'm actually really excited to take care of the collar.
Yeah, so Francesca's gonna look after this. I mean, I quite like it. I think
it's quite cool already.
Great job, but
yeah, she did a really great job.
Francesca's gonna do something really cool with it.
Let's see. I don't know, guys, if you've seen our previous lives, late lives. We've been creating white hair, copper hair, quite different shades. So
yeah, it's really exciting. Let us know. Do all of you do cut and colour? Do some of you do one or the other? Do you have a preference if you do both? Let us know, it's always nice to hear. And guys, let us know where you're tuning in from, if you have any questions. If you like the video, please do like and share it. It's really important to us that we get this out there. That's the reason for doing it, is to share. So if you think, if you've benefited from it, or you think you know someone that will, please like and share the video. It mean the world to us. Okay, so I'm just going to, again, now why am I standing now on the other side? Can anyone answer me why I would move my body? When I'm working to the front, I'm going to stand here. When I'm working to the back, I'm going to stand here. Can someone tell me why? That's the question for you guys. Let us know if any of you have the answer. Okay, so I'm just carrying on working through into that. And this is going to be really my final zone, yeah? I'm going to be working on the fringe and everything a bit, but we're going to do most of the rest of the haircut when it's dry.
We got Crystal tuning in from New Zealand.
From New Zealand, wow, cool.
Hey.
Hey dude, how you doing?
She actually prefers cutting.
Prefer cutting?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do both? So guys, let me just tell you, I'm presuming no one's answered the question. No? Okay, so...
we got Carlos saying to control your orbit direction better.
Exactly, okay.
Very
That's
nice.
Perfect. So, naturally, what we do is we pull towards us, yeah? So when I'm standing in the back, and I want to pull something backwards, right? Naturally, I'm going to be more likely to pull it back towards me. Again, when building towards the back, I'm going to pull towards me, so my body position is going to come around here. But I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now, this is it. We have our wet shake. Let's have a little look at you, darling. Interesting. It's going to be cool. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be one of those things that's really going to pop out when it's dry. I'm really excited to see it. How are you feeling? Yeah, I think it's time to have a quick feel of the balance. We've got some of this longer hair sitting over the top, which we wanted anyway. Okay, and now with the fringe, I feel like this is going to be a job. So I want to dry that first and get that sitting how we want it. Okay, so let's put some products in. This is just water, and then I'm going to blow dry the hair and start to work it through. Now maybe, could we get City back out here if you're still there, City? And maybe Francesco, if you could just start to film around and just come in closer and move the hair around a little bit with the camera, that'd be amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just to show this incredible shape, which I really love it. Just actually, I really love the back with the hairline that you create, Jens.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, show them all around and then move it around a little bit, bring it out, have a little play. That's what hair's for.
It's really cool. Guys, let us know what you think about the shape, if you like it, if you have any questions. It's really nice.
Okay. Where's my brush? So before you start moving that around, Francesco, just quickly with the blow dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working with a wrap drying technique to try and smooth the hair out. Okay, once the hair's smooth, that's when it's going to be much easier and much clearer for me to be able to add the texture to it when we finish. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a wrap drying technique. Now, if you want to start playing around with the hair a little bit, Francesco, that'd be cool.
Thank you so much, guys. as we said, we did a little bit of some of the little scratch of the videos during the preparation of this haircut, and we're gonna release all the shortcut on our Instagram TV. So it will be nice if you can actually tune in on Instagram later on and just have a look on what we've done and how the process was, especially the refining of the back, which I think is one of the best part of the haircut personally. It's really, really nice.
Well, we're gonna really change up the style as well a bit later. Get some pictures to share with you to show the expanded shape of that look a little bit more as well. But I'm sure you'll enjoy it as much as we will. Thank you so much, Vicky.
James, do you think it's quite difficult to manage to dry the bleached hair?
Yeah, it's more difficult because it's more stretchy, you know. And obviously you can get the knots and everything, which are a bit trickier. But really as a whole, you know, I think as long as you know you stick to the same technique and you know what you're looking for in the dry, that's the most important thing. Constantly assessing. What I see a lot of people do is they're blow drying the hair and they just keep doing it and then they're finished. Right? What we need to do is, as we're working through, we need to comb the hair down and assess what it's looking like. Is it doing what we want it to do, you know? Now with this, what we're going to be doing is, just to clean out some of it, I'm going to use some irons as well, just to get a really nice polish on the finish, okay? What do you think of the colour, guys? Let us know. Let us know how Josephine did. She'll be happy to hear, I'm sure. Guys, if anyone has any question about the haircut so far, please don't hesitate to ask. This is the perfect time, you know. I'm just going to carry on working this really nice wrap drying technique, trying to flatten out all the roots, making the hair collapse onto itself. This is a part of the haircut which a lot of people don't enjoy. A lot of people find the boring part, but actually it's so important. Yeah? You can do an amazing haircut and make it look not very good with a bad blow dry. Okay? You can hide a bad haircut with a good blow dry. So at Slate for us, as we use styling and cutting, we say if you can do both, then how could you lose, you know? So when I first started drying this, I started on the fringe. The reason being is because that's going to dry the quickest and that's the bit that I want to try and flatten out the most. So it's going to be interesting to see how that reacts. But when you're cutting, when you're cutting the hair and you have an idea, it's not until the blow dry that you're really going to start to see the way that it finishes, yeah? You really start to see the way that the whole thing is going to look in the end. But I'm really happy with the way that this is coming out. I'm starting to see the way that it's sitting cool. Just trying to be very careful of Josephine's ears. Come on. Okay. Right, okay. if you want to go through and check. Guys, Francesco's just going to quickly go and get some more charge for the phone so we can show you the rest of the haircut.
Alright.
Okay?
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Always technical problems are resolved, right? Are we good?
Alright, it's amazing.
Right, we're back.
Sorry guys for this little interruption. So we got Simon. He would like to see more of a natural look.
So what I'm going to do in a second is I'm just going to come away from my wrap dry. Because what really all I'm focusing on at the moment is the root, okay? And getting that root to sit how I want it. I'm going to come away from that in a sec, reapply with some oil, and then focus on my ends a little more. So we can see this is really, going to move really cool. It's going to be really interesting to see how it's sitting and it's dry. I'm going to use a little bit of oil now, just for the mid-lengths and ends, and start to use more of a tension drying technique, just to really smooth out some of these ends, yeah, and get a nice finish. It's funny not to have a mirror in front of you. You have no idea what you look like, do you?
No.
Well, you look great, okay. You have to take my word for it. Okay guys, so I'm just going to come through now and just finish off a brush with a bit more tension on it. And start to just focus on my mid-length and ends. When I work my sections, I tend to always work from the bottom upwards, because that's like our foundation, yeah, that everything is going to sit on top of. I always find that reapplying a little bit of oil before blow drying or ironing really adds to the finish, yeah? Nice light oil will really help get that really nice finish to the hair. Guys, what's your favourite products? Let us know what products you use, what you tend to find really, what are the products you can't live without? I'd really like to know.
We got a question from Vic. He's asking, where's your nozzle?
It's at home. No, I do use a nozzle sometimes. In this case, I want the hair to move a lot. I don't want to force it too much. I know that I'm going to be using irons, but I'm going to be using them just to finish off my blow dry. So if I want, and because this hair's quite damaged already, if I start using a nozzle and concentrating the heat too much, then we could be damaging the hair more, which I don't want to do. So I want a nice clean, but I don't want the finish to be too forced, if that makes sense. But I do use a nozzle regularly, It just depends on the hair texture. Apparently, actually, I heard that nozzles were actually invented for barbers. Hairdressers never used to use them. They were invented for barbers to speed up the drying process.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is what I heard. That's what my MVQ teacher ever told me. So if that's not true, then take it out from there. So guys, now what I'm doing is I'm just swapping hands. So I've now got my brush in my left hand and my handle pointing the way that I want the hair to sit. Okay. So when I first started blow drying with two hands, I thought this is impossible, I'm never going to be able to do it. Okay, and what I found was that just by having that self-discipline, everything comes back to that discipline, I think, and practicing, okay, then it will just come like second nature to you after a while. Go through that hardship to really reap the benefits. Now, there's an old famous footballer that was right-footed. Famous footballer, right-footed, was really bad with his left foot, and he practiced so much with his left foot that he became left-footed. So anyone that tells me that they can't blow dry their left hand, if you practice, I think you can. So I'm just being very aware of the ear here, because of all the piercings. I've already knocked one out, so I don't want to take any more with me. Okay? Your earrings are still there?
It's just the same, they're in a really nice location. We always do live streaming till now in a really nice location. It's Stana des Lingsby.
Thank you, Francesco, yeah.
So thank you for letting us stay to share some education with
We're
everyone.
really lucky to have this space, you know. Right in the bang in the heart of London, the High Street of Kensington, such a cool spot. I mean, doing it with 12 of them, the children's space is amazing. And this is one of 4 of their rooms that they have.
Such
really cool.
An incredible place.
And wow, the hairdressers that work here are just fantastic. Incredible haircutting. Really inspirational for us. So guys, I'm coming up to the end of my blow dry, okay? Really finished. Come on.
So James, when it will be our next Slate Live? December?
That is a good question, Francesco. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you answer that. Is it the 8th of December?
So it's going to be actually the 8th of December.
8th of December?
No, it's going to be the 1st of December for our opening.
Okay, yes.
So we're going to thinking to do a Slate Live for our first Academy days. We're going to show the new space and we're going to hopefully speak about the next day we're going to release for our courses 2020.
That's really cool, man. We've got a lot of courses coming up next year. You know, all our courses are starting in January, which I'm super excited to share with you. I think that, you know, we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be such a cool little space. Really exciting. Just plug this in. Bear with me. Yeah, and we're really excited for you guys to come down and have a look. We're right bang in the centre of London, in Soho, which is, you know, for me, my favourite area of London, one of the coolest spots. And we're on Berwick Street, which is just going to be super exciting.
What time, Simon? We're actually going to release the time pretty soon, I guess. So,
What time for the live?
yeah.
We'll let you know in the next week or so for sure, yeah.
So we are tending to organize everything for you guys. So we are working for you.
It'll be around a similar time. I mean, even just doing nothing, you know, just moving the hair around, it just has this really cool texture, you know, just having all these different panels of layering. It doesn't look disconnected, it evokes this really cool texture. That's what I think anyway, you know, everyone has their own opinion, of course. Everyone has their own taste. So, I'm just going to really lightly just run through the items, okay? I'm going to, if someone ever invents removable ears. That would be really cool.
That would be amazing. You know, like Mr. Potato in Toy Story.
Exactly like Mr. Potato.
The dream of high dresses.
Okay, so guys, has anyone got any questions about the haircut? Let me know. I'm excited to go through this fringe with you, because to be honest, I know about as well as you do how it's going to react and what we're going to do with it, so it should be fun.
So James, question from me, styling wise, for the salon, for the clients, when you do these incredible haircuts, do you usually blow dry straight and use the straightener to refine all of your technique? Or you tend to style it even without no brushes or any preference?
Oh, it varies so much. A lot of the time, to be honest, well, I very rarely use straighteners now. Very rarely. Only when I really have to. Now the reason for that is because I find that sometimes it can make the hair it goes into shock. Do you know what I mean? It can really go into shock, and when you cut it, it's not the true finish of the hair. I'd rather blow dry it 2 or 3 times to create that finish that I'm after. But a lot of the time I much prefer working with natural finishes, you know. I'm not someone that never ever uses a round brush. I don't use it all the time, but I do use a round brush when I need those to get those finishes. I work in a salon as well, so I do clients, and my job is to make the client happy. So I'll use any tool it takes to make that client happy. I think that's really, really important, not to be egotistical about what you do, you know. It's about making someone feel beautiful. And at the end of the day, this is what all this is.
Yeah, definitely.
It's giving you the tools. You know, that's why we're in education. It's giving you the tools to make other, for self-satisfaction, and also to make other people happy, which in turn will make you happy. And make you, give you more money, give your salon more money. So everyone's a winner. For me, I'm really passionate about education because of what it's done for me in my life, you know. Like, I've managed to travel the world and teach people from all over and meet some incredible people, and that's all just because of education. You know, obviously you have to work hard and you have to have discipline, you have to want it, but without education I wouldn't have that, without being taught myself. So I've been taught by some fantastic people, and I'm really, really, really grateful for that. So now it's, you come to a point where you want to share.
Cool.
So guys, I'm just going to come through this nice and quickly. I'm not going to spend too much time. Just...
Again, let us know what you think about the color that the lovely Josephine makes.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really nice.
It's really cool. This colour's beautiful. Isn't
Yeah.
It? This purpley thing. And then Josephine can tell you her
the formula.
Her formula.
We're going to go through the formula later.
Guys, let us know if any of you have been on a course with us before. It'd be cool to hear from you if you have, and if not, let us know if any of you are planning on it. It'd be really wicked to see some of you guys. You know, how it works with our courses is obviously we will be holding them at our new academy in Soho. We'll also, we come to you, you know, so wherever you are, whatever country you're in, if you want to book us for education, we'll come anywhere you want us. So it's quite cool, it's nice and flexible, and we teach different courses. So we have the geometrics course, which is actually 3 separate courses now. So we have our slant, and we have strength, and we have flow. And what you would do is you would learn 3 haircuts in each of these courses. Now those 3 haircuts, once you've done all of the courses, that will build up to the 9 classic foundation geometric haircuts, yeah? So in their purest form, really beautiful, really helpful in the salon. It's gonna, for me, they're what really changed changed my life, I think, changed the way I cut hair. And then after that, what we have is we have our abstract courses. We have 3 different variations of those as well. So learning to combine different shapes and different techniques. I find that that's one that's really exciting, you know, when you start to really start playing and start to realise how haircutting can be infinite in what you do. Then we have our men's courses as well. We have 3 different lots of men's courses, and we have our creative course. Now, like I said before, this is probably going to fall into the creative bracket. The reason being because of the level of disconnection and because of the amount of zones that we have to this haircut. But even though there's being a creative technique, when it's finished, what I think we're going to end up with is something that's really quite cool, but not too aggressive, you know, something that's still very beautiful, something that works with the natural texture and something that works with the model.
We're going to ask for Seref if we can explain the shape again. I think we're going to come through again this.
Of course, we'll do a full recap of what we've done before I start refining anything. So let's do it now, let's do the recap now. So what we did is we had different zones, okay? So we had a panel in the front, okay? We had, so in through here, we had this one panel that we've taken down. You can see we've taken shorter. We had this panel in the back, okay? We had another one going through, and then we had one that came up and round through the top. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zones technically, okay? So what we did was we worked this down into a line, which we'll be refining shortly, okay? And then underneath, we worked, if we can see, in this square line, and then worked a layer, working everything back into the middle, okay? Then our next zone, which came all the way through to the front, we again elevated out more, okay? And elevated everything back, and then as we went to the front, back slightly less, okay? Then after that, we started to just connect our lining all the way through. Then for this top area, I know I wanted something that's going to sort of kick out in these corners. So what I've done is I've elevated again through here, working shorter into longer again, so technically 3 tiers of layering going on through here, shorter into longer to evoke this hair to push out, and working everything back to that centre point, exactly the same on both sides. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Let us know. Let us know either way it doesn't, and then I'll try to explain it better. Okay. So I think that's good for now. I'm going to start looking at refining the shape now. So I did have an idea as well about how we could maybe play around with this fringe. But we'll see if that would work. Oh, sorry. Are we safe?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Those earrings.
James tends to go really passionate once you see like a really baby fringe.
So being careful of our plasters. I'm just coming through, I'm just going to refine this little line in the front, okay?
Do you tend to use any tension when you refine?
Depends. If I want something to have a bit of graduation through it, then yeah. So like for example, if I don't want anything to sit too solid, then I will use tension because that's going to help the hair spring up a little bit more. So for example, if I was coming in and opening in round here, I could put tension on and work my line, and then it's going to spring up a little bit. Just going to make it slightly softer. But really, when refining, you want to just see it in natural fall. Depending on what depending on what you're doing. But when refining a line or something, you want to see it in natural fall. So I'm just comb it and work it and comb it and work it, and that's the way that tends to work best for me. But like I said, everyone has their own thing. Now, really small details now. Like, see how we have this length sitting over. This is from my last zone, okay? I like that. I like that it's not perfect, so I like to keep things like that. I like that having this little bit of excess length. We can see more on this side as well, I spin you around. We've got this nice strong technique in the underneath, and then this little bit of shattering through the front, you know? And for me, I really enjoy that, so I'm gonna keep this. What I'm gonna start to do is just refine my outline first, making sure that we're nice and clean through there, and then from there I will work into my internal shape. So not a hell of a lot to do. I'm working with the points of my scissors so I don't push the hair, and so I have a bit more empathy with the hair growth and the hairline.
So we have a question from Denise if her color is platinum. It's not actually platinum, it's blue, like dark blue on the roots, and it looks like more light blue in the ends.
It's like a turquoisey colour in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I think we're gonna change it hopefully soon. Let's see, during this time. The lovely Josephine, she was thinking to do some green, inspired by the Joker. So
inspired by the Joker, really?
Let's see next.
Cool. I actually went to see that last night.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, and you're inspired already?
Yeah.
Cool.
So James, how do you usually tend to do some disconnection on clients during the
Very often.
asylum life?
Very often I do. I use disconnection on, probably 75% at least on clients. And to be honest, most people do without even realising. For example, you cut a men's hair cut and leave that top a little bit longer, that little bit is a disconnection. But I use disconnection not to make something creative, I use it as a tool, like everything else. So I will use disconnection, for example, to flatten out areas of the head. I think it's really important. If someone has a lot of hair back here, then I can disconnect this underneath, which is going to flatten this and balance the shape out for me. Now what I'm going to do here is just start to texture that underneath. So start to point through the underneath slightly. Okay, we can see that that's our length on top. So this is our second zone we're working now, this one up from here. For the ears. And same on the other side. I tend to, if I'm working with balance and a haircut already, then I tend to, when working with texture and removing weight or texturizing, then I will tend to do it again with balance. So the same on both sides.
So you're actually pointing inside the shape to blend it in more.
Yeah, I'm pointing inside the shape to remove the solid edge at this point because the way the hair is, because it's bleached as well, because it's swollen, that edge is going to sit a little bit heavier. So I'm just using pointing to soften that, make it blend a little bit better into the rest of the shape.
Let us know, guys, if you tend to do more, I would say, classic haircut during the salon's life, or you tend to disconnect more and play more with shapes. It will be cool to know.
Has anyone got any questions about the shape or about the haircut? Please let us know. Again, guys, if this has helped you in any way, please do like and share. It's really important to us that we get through that. Okay, I'm just going to kind of point through this top zone now. So just breaking into the ends. Not really necessarily removing too much weight, more about breaking into the ends of the haircut. ends of the hair, sorry. For me, what that's going to do is, as this sits, it's just going to collapse nicer, fall a bit softer. Then once we've done that, we're going to look at the fringe and have a play with the fringe. So I hope you guys see what I mean by when I was saying that there's a lot of things going on, but actually, you know, in the end, it all kind of sits together. It doesn't look like I've got really, really short and really, really long bits. But the reality is, there's a lot of disconnection going through it. Okay, so our final little bit now, which is going to be probably one of our most challenging bits, and we're going to look at this fringe. So let's see. So very visual, I think, you know, when we're working things like this. Just doing little bits at a time, seeing how the hair's reacting. And I always find when you're doing these, when it has this kind of hairline, for those of you guys that haven't seen, we've got a serious jump in the hairline here. So what we're going to do is, I think, work something that's a lot, you know, with a much softer technique, a much more forgiving. So now I'm going to put a bit of tension, okay? Maybe if I come this way, you might see it a bit better. So I'm going to put tension on the hair. It's going to allow it to spring up. And what I'm going to do is just start to use the points. And from there, I'm going to come off and then see how the hair's reacting. Just get a brush. So when I find there's weakness in the hairline or weakness in texture or anything like that, then I'll try and use it to my advantage, you know. If there's a jump in the hairline or something, rather than fighting against it too much, do you want to keep holding that way? Then rather than fighting against it, what we can do is we can maybe try and work with it, yeah?
There's a ref asking, so as I'm seeing it, is this a variation of a classic bob with square layering? Just trying to simplify the cut in my head, he says.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it was square layering, but what it would be is it's a kind of a square line, okay, with lots of different triangular layers. So layers that are coming shorter into longer. That would be, for me, the most simple way to describe it. Okay, so different panels of triangle layering with a bob. So it's just, you know, it's really to create quite a classic finish, but it's just using a slightly more intricate sectioning pattern. Does that help at all, Drew? Let us know, man. Yeah, where the hair's more sparse in areas, then I'll kind of try and balance it to make it work. So it doesn't look like there's a fault in the hairline, you know. It looks like it's kind of all supposed to be there. There you go, darling. It's all about these little details now, you know. This is now very personal. It's just something that, you know, like from my eye, what I like, you might want to do something different, but the important thing is is that I have the structure in there. Let us know what you think, guys. I'm almost done. Let me know what you think about the shape and the haircut and the technique and how it's looking. Really, really happy to know. Thank you all so much for tuning in and spending your Sunday with us. It means a lot. Well, I guess it must be Sunday for everyone, then. And again, I'm just looking at my line. I like that length sitting over and just kind of having a little, making sure that wherever I move the hair, that it's working.
Thank you so much, guys. Again, if you really like the result, it would be nice if you can like and share. It would be appreciated, especially because we can understand that someone's like James' haircut as I like.
Okay. Do you mind taking your plasters off your opening there? It's okay.
So we're gonna finally know what's behind the
know
plaster.
what's behind the big reveal of the ear.
Yeah. Okay, 1 second.
Okay, we've got a bit of hair in there as well. Perfect. Okay, good job. Yeah, I think we're there.
How am I?
You're good.
Okay, 1 sec.
You got it? Hang on 1 second. Very precious ears, these.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Wow. Okay.
Look at them, those ears in all their glory. Beautiful. Okay, now let's just make sure that hasn't changed too much. Now we're going to start off the colour in a second. Beautiful. Okay, my lady, do you want to hop up for me?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, look at you. So, I'm just going to get some finishing little taps in. I'm going to use my spray now to kind of get the style to show what I was trying to do with that layering, pushing that hair out from the underneath. It's really cool little punky fringe. I really like that. Springy.
Right, cool.
Cool. So this is it. This is my finished look. What I'm going to do is quickly go through again the technique with you and what we did. So, we started off with a little panel through here, which we've just worked down into a little line. Now the reason we did that is because the hair was weaker through there and shorter than the length we wanted to come to. So rather than leaving it, I'd rather make it a feature, which is what we've done. We then came through and had sections in the back, so panels. We had one horizontally coming through here, another one coming all the way through to the front, and then another one coming down into a point and back up. So like two almost diamond sections through the top. What we did was we worked our square line through the underneath, then we worked a layering technique, building everything back into the middle. Okay? Our next section we did again, shorter into longer, our longest point being longer than our shortest point in the underneath, disconnecting, falling over, okay? And then work everything back to a point in the center. We worked for the top and flattened out the widest point of the head, so we look from here, widest point of the head, flattened that area out, shorter into longer. Again, the longest point here being longer than the shortest point in the underneath, so collapsing over again. And what that's doing is, by having the point in our section, allows this hair to really accentuate and push out from the underneath. So if you just give us a little 12 for us, darling. Beautiful, beautiful. We connected everything in the outline very softly with the points, and then just worked for a really nice visual pointing technique through the fringe. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you like it. Josephine, thank you so much, and Francesco, thank you. Cheers guys, see you next time.